Wow, the tree just hit that car.
Oh my god, that was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's still
Look
on
at
top
this
of
thing
that.
hanging. Yeah, cheers guys.
Okay, cheers.
And it's a good question.
Yeah.
I'll get back to it right after this sip.
Right after this commercial. So how's it?
Oh, it's a melting pot of all the cultures and nationalities because it was one of the middle points of the Silk Way. So we have people from all over. If you visit, you'll see people from all kinds of, let's say, European-looking people. You will see people from Middle East. You will see people from Central Asia, Asia. So it's insane.
Hello everyone, welcome to this short series of living in China. Today I'm here with my two good friends. I have Kamil here on my right side and I have Pascal here. Actually, we made a video a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, like 2 weeks or something.
If you remember, Pascal is from Switzerland. But today we're going to talk about the ideas and the perceptions and different kind of job positions of Kamil. Kamil, you are from Kazakhstan.
Yeah,
how are you?
Yeah, good.
Oh, good to have you
Happy
here.
to be here.
Yeah, actually, he just came this morning from Qiandaohu. How far was it, Qiandaohu, from here?
It's about 2 hours drive. It's a pretty touristy place.
2 hours drive?
Yeah.
But you came in the bullet train, right?
2 hours drive, sorry, yeah, it's 2 hours by bullet train. So, a bit
Yeah,
far.
actually it's quite, it's funny because we were actually working together in the same school, in the hospitality management school that we said before with Pascal some years ago, and then we moved to different jobs. So it's quite interesting story. So to start with this conversation, before we got into the topic of China, how is it to work here, how are the visas processes, how are the jobs, and different things about China culture. So can you tell us a bit about how is life in Kazakhstan, because I know you're from there, and just a bit of a background on how do you decide to come to China after some time.
All right.
How was it there in Kazakhstan?
Not to go in too many details. I was born and raised in Kazakhstan, Almaty. It's like one of the biggest cities back in Kazakhstan.
Second biggest one.
I think it's the biggest city, and it's a former capital. It's a nice place to visit, and I'm waiting for these guys to visit me there. I lived there until I finished high school, and by that time, I had one opportunity to go to England for 1 month to study English.
So you went there?
So how old were you when you were there?
I was 15, so that was my first trip just by myself.
Where was that?
It was 1 month. It was in Oxford.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that was a good experience.
Oxford alumni.
Exploring by myself for the first time, improving some English.
So that's why in China now you're considered native English speaker.
Yeah, not really, but
So you were there in the UK for how long?
that was 1 month, and it kind of spiked my interest in kind of international travel studies. At the time, for Kazakhstan, I guess it was just people just started to send people outside to kind of study somewhere else and bring back the expertise and whatever skills. And
Yeah, you know, I was just reading actually not long ago that Kazakhstan, and I think you told me that as well.
Oh.
Like Kazakhstan is one of the biggest, I think it's the ninth, because I remember like I was reading that, is the ninth country, like the ninth largest country in the world in terms of land. And I was looking like the biggest one is Russia. If I remember correctly the numbers, I was just reading somewhere, it's like 18 to 17.
So if you guys know better, then put that in the comments.
Yeah.
About Russia, okay?
Yeah, so it was Russia, Canada, US, China. Then it was, I think Brazil, somewhere there.
What else?
And then
Australia, maybe also big, no?
Australia big, yeah. And then somewhere there in the 8th or 9th, it was
ninth,
Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, huh?
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
It's the ninth.
I happen to know.
Yeah. And I think actually Kazakhstan is a little bit bigger than Mexico, because Mexico is like 2 million square kilometers, something like that. And I think Kazakhstan was like 2 point something, almost 3. India was also there. I think it's like number before Kazakhstan. But anyways, it's so big. So how is the culture in Kazakhstan? Like, is it like a big variety of things, or everyone is like?
Well, it's
Cheers, by the way.
oh yeah, cheers guys.
cheers.
And it's a good question.
Yeah.
I'll get back to it right after this sip.
Right after this commercial. So how's it?
Oh, it's a melting pot of all the cultures and nationalities because it was one of the middle points of the Silk Way. So we have people from all over. If you visit, you'll see people from all kinds of, let's say, European-looking people. You will see people from Middle East. You will see people from Central Asia, Asia. So it's insane. More than 150 something ethnic groups. Or,
Oh yeah.
So for this, it's quite interesting in terms of culture, in terms of overall mentality, and you can feel you can be whoever you want, and you're still accepted quite well, and yeah.
So you guys are very close also with Russia in terms of culture?
Oh
Would
yeah,
you say
well, I
that?
speak Russian. That's my mother tongue. I happen to.
So your mother tongue is Russian?
Yeah.
But
So
you speak Kazakh?
I do not speak Kazakh.
Oh,
Like ethnically, yeah. Okay, so since we're on that topic, I'm not Kazakh ethnically. I have a mix of many things. Just like basically a proof
Finally
that
answering the
Kazakhstan,
question.
like I said, is a melting pot of everything. So
so
I happen.
what's the like main ethnic group there?
Well, Kazakhs,
Russian.
Kazakhs first,
Oh,
locals. They're descendants from a mix of Mongolian ethnic groups and others. So it's a nomadic sort of culture and mentality in some way. And if you talk about dietary habits and everything, they would be similar to, let's say, nomadic Mongolian sort of. Lots of meat, some vegetables, not a lot of other things, not a lot of spicy food for them.
So with your family, do you speak in Russian?
Yeah. So Russian, I happen to speak Russian as my native mother tongue, basically.
Yeah, it's quite like international community here in Shanghai, for example, because if you just see like here in this very short, small community, like Switzerland, then Kazakhstan, we're waiting for one friend, he's from Russia. So you guys actually speak Russian to each other.
Yeah.
But I speak Spanish with Dima, because he also speaks Spanish.
Nobody speaks German with
And nobody
me.
speaks German with
Yeah,
you.
so
So it's quite like a little UN. So okay, so you were there before coming to China. What is that even
so
like idea? You know,
coming
came
back
through,
to
yeah?
that, I went to England when I was 15. When I finished high school, I decided there was an opportunity for me to go and study abroad, and I took that opportunity. It was I went to New Zealand and I studied there, and we always look at each other when we talk about New Zealand because he happened to.
I live there as well in New
Yeah,
Zealand.
so,
I was in Auckland. For a year, I was doing the working holiday visa.
Auckland.
What?
I was there too.
So you
it's an
were-
old joke. It's getting pretty old.
Okay.
So I stayed there for 2 years. I studied a bit, but at that time I was not a great student. I would say I was mostly I was studying. I was first time really living somewhere else, like full-time student. But I was also doing my first job. I was working as a bartender.
Oh, same like you?
Yeah, like me.
Oh
same
my
bar.
God.
I was doing in the
Well,
in
now you can
Auckland,
see-
in New Zealand. That's what it is in Auckland.
We have some things in common.
Okay, so you were there, and then New Zealand, and then after that.
So 2 years, right? And at that time there was an opportunity because once I started working in the bar, I got interested in the hospitality industry and tourism overall, and there was an opportunity to move and transfer to a Le Roche Jinjiang, which is the place where we all met. It's a what is this? It's a joint venture.
It's not
yeah?
a school. It's a way of life.
It's
As the
their
slogan would
motto.
say. Yeah, so that's where we met. That's a hospitality management school where
So,
the
but actually, maybe
headquarters.
to go a bit more deep in that, actually, Kamil was studying there first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Before we actually worked there, right?
So I was a student there.
Yeah, true.
And at that time I decided, okay, so I'm gonna take things seriously because I definitely felt kind of bad that I wasn't doing that well as a student in New Zealand. So I thought, okay, I'll take it more seriously. I'll definitely do well there, and I did.
Then were you student of the month?
So, but then why did you
I had
decide?
some-
Why did you decide China instead of another?
Well, for
European
several
or-
reasons. New Zealand, it's about, for me, to go from Kazakhstan to New Zealand, it takes at least 2 days normally, and I would have to fly with at least 2 transfers. And I had some crazy flights like Almaty to Dubai, Dubai to Singapore,
Oh, wow.
Singapore to Brisbane, and Brisbane to Auckland, more than 2 days. And
Gosh.
basically,
Sounds like a lot of fun.
China is closer, we're neighbors. One flight or at least one or just minimum one transfer, and that's it. I'm already here, so location was one of the factors. The second thing is, the school was good, so the opportunity to be able to go back home at any time when I had the winter or summer break.
So then you came here to China to study for the first time in Le Roche.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did that your hospitality course.
Yeah, so I did that, graduated with diploma, and then what happened then? I was looking for a job. There was either an opportunity to go and continue with the bachelor's, but at that time I decided, okay, I'm gonna start supporting myself financially, and I decided to look for a job instead and do the bachelor later, which I did.
Yeah,
that's
so
another-
so before the jobs, for example, for some people that is interested in coming to study in China, how is the process of your visa application? If you remember, like to come to China for the first time, was it difficult to come and apply through the, you know, like student visa? Did they send you a letter to support you to apply for the visa? How was that process?
Some things have changed, but in general, until now, right, it's not that easy still. There are a lot of things that you have to do. At that time too, yeah, all kinds of tests. A lot of times, for the initial visa is the most of the paperwork, I would say. But once you're here, when you want to get the new visa, then it's easier. You just have to do the medical check here, and everything else is a bit easier. Not to say it's very easy in general, but it's easier.
Like once you're in, if you just transfer your visa, it's okay, right? But then is it difficult also to get the student? I mean, the student visa is much easier than the work visa, not to get.
Yeah, of
Easier?
course, because for student visa you just pay the tuition, you get the student visa. But to get my first job, it was very tough because at that time, to get your first job, you need to have 2 years experience, work experience somewhere else, but in the same industry where you graduated from and where you want to find the job. But how can you find your first job without that experience?
Yeah.
Luckily, I did have some experience in New Zealand, so I used that as one of the things. And plus, back home, some of the things that I did helping out with the family business, I used it as a working experience together. So I found just enough to be able to justify my first working visa here, and it was pretty rare.
So did you change from the student to work
So
visa
I
when
did
you were
find
here?
a work visa, yeah, but I had to leave the country first because I couldn't find it on time. I had to come back here several times on a tourist visa while doing some interviews and looking for a job, and then you have to leave again, apply for a proper one, and come back. So I had I changed a few passports just because they were full of different Chinese visas.
Yeah.
What was your first job here then?
My
Sorry,
first
I'm
job
taking
here.
over
No,
the
no, no.
role of,
No, it's good. But just before the job, I just wanted to say something about the student visa, because I remember like some people also they want to come here to China. Now, for example, I've seen that there are many opportunities from universities that they actually say, okay, so if you want to apply for a student visa, if it's less than 6 months, they will send you a letter. You go to the embassy or the consulate in your country, and then you apply. I mean, you apply for the registration in the university, and then it probably goes like around maybe 9 to 10,000 yuan, I think, per semester. No, how much is
you
the
meant
pay?
to study? Yeah,
study.
I think ninth. Depends on the school, but somewhere there, yeah. Like,
Yeah, so probably from 8,000 yuan to 10,000 yuan, for example, here at least in Shanghai.
Yeah.
And then they give you the visa for student visa.
Which
And
like
then you can stay here.
$1,500 maybe.
$1,500, something like that.
Yeah.
And then you can stay here like maybe 6 months at least. And then you can renew that, right?
Okay.
Okay.
By the way, it would make sense to mention the time frame because things have changed over the years. I arrived first to China. It was 2009. I graduated in 2012, and that's when I was looking for a job. And at that time, those were the rules. Now things may look different. So look up for the. Just look it up for the latest requirements. But so since 2009 until here, I've been living in China.
But that's already 15 years.
Longer than.
Yeah, actually, Pascal and I, we've been here like 10 years. and then you've been here all together from student until now working 15 years
Yeah,
actually,
because
right?
you have that study time.
So therefore, like, there's a lot of experiences in terms of different provinces and jobs and change of visas, right? So that was one of the first ones, like you changed from the student to the job. Then you were working.
Since then, I've only been here on a working visa.
On a working visa.
So the way it works, you have this. It's called like a residence permit, right? It's a multiple entry.
Yeah.
If you have a proper contract, a lot of people they work here not really properly, right? On some kind of different. But anyway.
I mean, some people even with student visas, but then that's a little bit like tricky.
Technically, it's not legal, yeah. So I got this proper one. I spent a lot of time and effort basically getting this. Since then, I've been on this one, and you just have to renew it every year.
How often do you renew?
Every year.
So since then, for example, from your first job, how many jobs have you had?
So to cut the long story short, I worked as an admissions and enrollment officer and later like a manager for the same school, the Rojinjiang, admission and enrollment for all the international students. Then I went to headhunting company for a couple of years, and then I went back home actually for 1 year. I needed again to do some helping out with the family matters. then I came back and started working as a lecturer. This is when we met again in Le Roche in 2018
Maybe.
Yeah, six,
yeah.
17.
Oh, you were back in
So that's-
Kazakhstan before that?
for
I thought you
basically
were just working here.
for 1 year out of all these 15 years I spent back home. So
So you
technically
also have a long story with La Roche. Like
again
working
the
in
Roche with these guys. So student first, then admissions and enrollment officer for 3 years,
yeah, crazy.
and then as a lecturer for also I think
3-4
from
years,
2018.
And it's yeah,
2022?
it's interesting
Yeah.
because also in our positions there back in this school, which I don't know if you mentioned, but La Roche is like a Swiss hospitality management school in headquarters in Switzerland, but then they also have a campus here in Shanghai, Marbella, and I think we said in when we talked
Abu
to
Dhabi,
in Abu
they
Dhabi, I think they
opening up
have.
now.
Yeah. So we were teaching at the time, Pascal, you're in the F&B, right?
Yeah.
And then I was teaching, at the time I was teaching like principles of economics and accounting.
yeah.
And then you were teaching that.
Yeah, I was
And then after
teaching
him, I was
accounting.
teaching it even.
Yeah,
fully.
relate. Yeah, after you, everything
We were
related.
teaching all
He
three
was doing
subjects.
marketing and economics mainly. I replaced the person who was teaching financial managerial accounting, but he also taught this, I think.
Yeah.
And then
So maybe to sum it up, you taught accounting, managerial accounting, and economics. Same with you, and same with me actually.
some of the
Those are
subjects
the
we
two
taught
subjects
together
that
over
we-
these
that we
years.
all taught.
Yeah, so that was within a period of time of probably 5 to 6 years, and then these are introductory, like topics to the hospitality management school. So that's the major, but they need to have a little bit of background in some specific areas,
Yeah.
right? To apply it to so whatever it is to different levels. Okay, so you
And
were
then
there.
the last thing, when he left to this place where I'm working right now.
Yeah, actually, that's another
You
one.
want to tell them about it?
Yeah, so basically, so I moved to Hu. This is another hospitality school. It's actually from Australia. It's called Anglis. You can check it out, maybe. But then I was there in Hu. I was hired also as a lecturer. I was teaching some subjects in hospitality. Hu is like 2 hours away in bullet train. That was like 2 years ago. And then I got this other offer, but I'm working right now. So I can like told you, right? Like if you guys were interested, like I took over on that position, which was also quite nice.
Yeah.
But it worked out well, right?
So you moved away from that position at some point because you found something else, and then I moved in, and since then I've been working there. So that's a bit more than a year now.
Also,
basically.
one of the things that I would like to say here is like, because for example, many years ago, when they were during the recruitment process of China, like, they can hire basically like there were not a lot of requirements, right?
Yeah.
We can say that. But now, as time is, like passing and China is progressing in many different things and stuff, so they're becoming a little bit more strict into like for example, like you enrolled to a PhD, I just finished, you have the masters as well, enrolling to different things. So they're becoming a little bit tough to give these positions.
It's getting a
Would you
bit
say
more
that?
strict, maybe, right?
I guess in terms of requirements could be.
Yeah, in terms of requirements. Okay, so then one of the things that when you arrived to China for the first time, what was something that actually surprises you at that
nice.
time? Surprised you? Like you're like, oh, wow. I thought it was like living in Kazakhstan, but then I saw.
Okay, so I would have to say this: the scale of it already surprised me, but at the same time, in terms of, for example, the people that I see around me or the food that I see around me, I felt closer to home than I was when I was in New Zealand.
Here, the culture is
because again, we are neighbors with China, so we do have some
similarities.
Yes,
right?
and we have some of their foods. We have the people, and
So if you would live in the north of China, maybe even much more. I mean, very
similar?
related, right? Very
like
similar.
northwest. Would be.
You're surrounded by which countries in Kazakhstan?
So that would be, China, Russia, then we have Kyrgyzstan, and then we have Uzbekistan, and might be
Uzbekistan.
one more. Yeah.
And then China has like around 14 countries, I think, like they have borders with. So it's actually like a lot of influence from China, obviously, to all of these like countries around. So the culture is probably like quite
in
quite
some
similar.
ways, yeah, just like
What ways as example?
Could you say?
like with China, we're neighboring with Xinjiang, which is the biggest province in China. It is the biggest province in China, and it's also was connecting it through the Silk Road. right?
Yeah.
Before, so we do have a lot of Uyghur people as well in Kazakhstan. So I'm very familiar with this, quite familiar with food. And in my family, even though I said, local people generally don't eat spicy food, but in my family we cook a lot of close in some ways to Chinese foods. Because, again, Chinese food is a huge, like a tree, branches of different cuisines. So
could you before like explain a little bit what's the Uyghur people? Just to explain.
Uyghur people are the locals of the Xinjiang, which is one of the provinces in China, like I mentioned. They're Muslim people, so they have their own culture, diet, and everything, history.
Yeah,
and like we have 11. A lot of Uyghur people in Kazakhstan because we're neighbors. A lot of people moved there.
I think I was reading as well. Like it's about like 11 million people around that area, and then obviously like, it's quite different to China, but it's still Chinese. But it's true, like they go to many different places, similar to the border in north, like Harbin with China to Russia. So a lot of influence there, like with the Russians and China as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there, so in Kazakhstan, what else did you see like similarities with your country and China?
Well, similarities probably end there, and then it's all the differences, I guess, start. And that's the people, the food still, the variety here is insane, right? I mean, I've been here for so many years, and we can all still go to some place and try something new that we have never tried until now. It just never ends.
We just order what?
And it's we're sitting here at a Japanese place right now. But yeah, Shanghai is great for variety. So for this part, the city is never boring. It's always changing. It is always changing.
So in terms of comparing like provinces that you've lived, do you like better?
I've traveled to quite a few, but I haven't lived in too many. Mostly, Shanghai all this time for work, for studies, and now it's Zhejiang, which is the neighboring sort of province, right? And again, it's quite similar. That city, Qingdao, we mentioned, it translates as thousand lake. It's a town. Thousand Island Lake. So, and it's a nice place to go there.
So do you think you prefer to live there, let's say Chengdu, which is a little bit more like rural maybe? Or do you prefer like Shanghai?
I have quite a few hobbies and interests, and it's definitely easier to kind of feed those interests in Shanghai. In Shanghai, because you can find anything you want. There is a chess club.
So by the way, he's
no, absolutely not.
How much is that?
But we have
2100? Oh no, 22. So
no official rating. So we had some chess clubs. We do some board games.
We used to go there on every Thursday.
Yeah, fitness related stuff. You can meet up with people and do it together.
Yeah. Did you go one time with us to the chess club? Maybe one time?
No, I didn't want to like offend people there. So
there are many different kinds of clubs, and then I remember Kamil told me, "Hey, just come to this chess club," because we used to play in the school sometimes, and it was quite not allowed.
So work-wise,
Michael Weil is looking this.
Oh my God.
Work-wise,
no, we didn't play chess.
Yeah, work-wise.
Send the clip to. Okay, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I was saying in terms of work, it's a good location because it's quiet and peaceful. You can really recompose and just de-stress. But for hanging out with friends, you see, I'm here today just to meet with you guys because otherwise, if you don't have any plans, there is not much to do unless you want to just travel.
But then that could also help with your hobbies, right? If nobody bothers you or like this, then also you can follow your hobbies a little bit.
So I was working there, right? Like 6 months in Chengdu. And then I remember like on the weekends, if I didn't come to Shanghai or something, it was like quite chill. Like I would just go there. There's a swimming pool with an amazing view, and you just go there. I would just take my book and then just sit, really like almost like little meditation. You know,
for sure.
It was like quite
to get away from all that.
Yeah, very different. Like to be living in a city, so it has its pros as well.
Now all cities are connected through the high-speed railway, so you can be like in central China. We are on the most eastern side of China, but right now I have. If I want to, let's say, travel to central China, it just takes 4 hours by speed train, and it's very easy to travel You carry your passport right now. You don't even need to go through. You can even scan together with the rest of the people, not to go through some.
Or maybe it's
Basically,
cannot,
it's,
that's
I
why
just
it's
want to
last.
say that it's simple.
No, I was just wondering,
it's
why would
very
you go
easy.
to central China?
What is there,
You know what
Gansu?
there-
No, that's more. Oh,
No, Gansu is super.
so what you mean Changsha?
Yeah.
Right now, for my weekends, I live in Changsha, which is central China, and it's a gastronomic capital. One of the
Very nice.
if China is basically divided in 8 main cuisines.
You know this?
Each cuisine
studied hospitality.
branches out into other areas, but 8, and this place is one of them.
So do you
you
know
remember?
those 8? Like, could you name them?
But just mention some, if not.
Okay, so
you go to the south,
Donghainese.
you have Guangzhou, for example. So you have Cantonese food. So that's one thing. Shanghai,
for you.
Shanghai is another one, right? They consider it to be sweet in that area, in that region. Then you have this Hunan, which is considered to be fresh and spicy. Then you have like Chongqing and Sichuan.
For a
This
hot
is a
spot.
different sort of spicy. It's a
Like the mala.
peppercorn sort of numbing spicy thing. It's a different.
Yeah.
And other ones, I definitely
Yeah,
the
the other ones in the
Muslim
north.
food,
Yeah, Muslim.
like in Gansu, Xinjiang.
Like all the Xinjiang area, right?
Then
Like
in the north, you have another
Lanzhou
one.
noodles.
So they're all very different, actually.
So what
quite
is missing
distinct.
then?
I don't know, but
The compound chili, it's its own.
Your favorite dish.
yeah.
yeah. Okay. So that's quite good. I mean, like, what is your family said? Like, you've been living here for such a long time. Are they like?
So
Have they come?
I've had an opportunity to have them over here a few times,
Oh, that's
3
good.
times,
Nice.
in fact.
3 times.
And one time they stayed.
About 15 years, right?
One time they stayed here for a month with me in Shanghai, and I rented a
Wow.
place. I rented a place for them for 1 month.
Wow, that's
And
so good. Hey, you guys should
it was a great experience for them, and they really like it here. And I'm hoping after this many years, after COVID, they haven't been here. So this year, if everything goes right, I hope
Again?
to have them over this
good.
summer.
And let's go
How are the
for a
flights?
little dinner.
How are the flights Kazakhstan, China?
This year, between China and Kazakhstan, we now have a visa-free
Oh, really?
visa-free
Yeah, it's like
entry.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
No,
Obviously,
for you
they're
guys,
trying to make people come back again,
encourage
right?
more
Because it was
tourism,
tough. No one
and it
was
works. So
Kazakhstan visa free. Mexico, no visa free.
No.
Oh.
Still need to apply. But what they did, before 2019, I used to fly to Mexico, direct flight, 16 hours. It was Shanghai, Mexico. That's it. Then
Oh,
they
it
took
was
it
there
up.
before.
Yeah, before
Oh.
2018, 19. Yeah, so I did that like maybe 2-3 years, and then stop, and then COVID happens,
So how
right?
much did it cost? Like at
At that time, it
No.
used to cost like maybe 7,000 yuan,
Yeah,
thousand
exactly.
something, $1,200, $1,300
Return flight.
round trip. And then now, just recently, I think like a month ago,
No, but
they
then
opened a new.
stopped it, right?
Then-
So
Then they stopped
yeah.
in the whole COVID. So in order to go to Mexico, I need to go to the US first, or maybe Tokyo, maybe Seoul, or Canada, or something like this. And then thank you, Shisha. And then the other way now is like they just started with the new flights with China Southern, I think, Airlines, and it is
Or China's
direct
Eastern,
flight,
maybe,
but it's
no?
not from Shanghai, it's from Shenzhen.
Oh,
So you
then
need to go
China
to
Southern, yeah.
Shenzhen, Mexico, Shenzhen.
But they don't have one from Shanghai.
No.
So then you still need a transfer.
Yeah, but even I was checking the prices, and quite high, quite high. So
I mean,
still,
prices here still haven't really recovered, maybe fully. I mean,
it's
it
getting
has
better.
gone down,
Yeah,
obviously.
just
But
so now
still
the
costs
so
more.
now the better option for me to go Mexico on round trip, it is probably around 1,200. No, yeah, like
12,000.
maybe 12,000 yuan.
Okay.
Wow,
round
that's
trip.
still a lot.
And then there's different
Like
routes. So for example,
$2,000.
yeah, it's, a little bit,
close
it's like
to-
$2,000 round trip from here to Mexico,
But you mean
Mexico
like
back.
business class or what?
No, just regular. And then there's some like different stopovers. One is like via Turkey,
Oh,
and actually that's good because it's like 20 hours, and then you can take like a little
really
free
go
tour.
the whole-
So
Okay.
I think the airline provided something like this. I haven't done that, but I would like to do. And then on the way back is also like 15 hours.
But that's
So yeah, it depends, right? If
Yeah.
or you just go straight.
Yeah.
And then how far is it to Kazakhstan with a plane? How long does it take?
If there is a direct flight, which I never really had, because to my city I always had to go either through
Or?
Urumqi, which is the capital of Xinjiang, which is right next to my city, 1 hour flight.
So my question is, could you take a flight to Urumqi
If
and
I-
then take a train?
No, I
That would
mean
be nice, right?
maybe yeah, that would be nice, but because I guess it goes
do
through
the
the
whole
border. Maybe that's why it's not that easy.
So
So from Shanghai usually to Beijing, or from Shanghai to Urumqi first, and then to Almaty. So usually it takes you basically are home within a day. But if there was a direct flight, it's just like 7 hours from Shanghai all the way to my city.
What? Still 7 hours?
Because like you have to fly through the whole China if you're in Shanghai. Shanghai, you are basically
to
on a
Switzerland, the direct flight is only 11 hours.
yeah. So like from my country to yours is not that.
Maybe, yeah.
It's
maybe,
pretty
maybe.
close. Yeah.
So, going back a little bit to the idea of China, like for example, I just want to know, because I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of the, you say already like some similarities with China, maybe some things that are not too similar. Is there some like misconception that you actually had, like before coming to China and then you realize, oh wow, actually I was quite grown?
I mean, normally when
thinking
people,
about that?
before they arrive to China, everybody thinks, for example, the local people, they're all hardworking, for example, right? Like, there is this maybe
So that's a misconception?
Yeah, I
That
guess
everyone
so.
used to be
Even the
hardworking.
locals would say, no,
Okay, yeah, good point.
we're lazy, we like to do. And maybe that explains why they're so inventive, because instead of doing something, they will find different ways to make it easier. And that's why
Shortcut.
you can find anything you want in here in terms of like, you go to the online shopping, right? You get recommended some things you didn't know you needed, but suddenly you need it once
Yeah.
you see it. because
Especially
it's just
when you get to buy like little devices or gadgets now electronically
everything.
and stuff.
It's pretty much like heaven here
Ascension.
for this part.
But maybe it's not really something that China is famous for, right? To be like very creative or inventive.
I
Well,
think-
except for now, for example, with all of EV industry, the car industry, right? Do they
Oh.
send this to
Oh,
Kazakhstan
now
or
it's
not?
it's a big thing. Everybody is moving into electric cars,
Yeah.
changing from gas to electric cars.
Yeah.
Tax-wise, is way cheaper, right? You don't need to pay actually any
Yeah. You don't
any
need the
tax on
license and
those.
stuff, right?
They subsidize all of the prices for
Yeah,
for
so
the plates even here in
Big
China.
markets. A lot of people are making a lot of money bringing cars from China to Kazakhstan
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, for sure. One
So-
about that, like one little extra piece of information that I remember I was reading somewhere is that, for example, here in Shanghai, if you want to buy a car, you just don't buy the car, just as we normally buy them, but you need to also pay for the plate. Right?
the number of
plates.
The plate is like super expensive. This is like around like 100,000 yuan,
As expensive
something like
as the
this.
car itself.
Yeah,
It depends on the city, but
Depends on the city, yeah.
Big cities like Shanghai, like all these top cities, there are so many cars, so I guess they control it this way because.
how much is in yuan?
So
dollars?
it's about
$50,000.
$15,000 to $20,000 you'll have to pay just to get this number plate.
Just to get the
I mean,
plate.
first you need to go through a lottery, and then if you win the lottery to get the license plate, then you need to pay that. So it's not just about the money. You first need to be a bit lucky to actually being allowed to pay that money, right?
Yeah, it's like a pool where you submit
Yeah.
your application, and then if you're chosen, then you are allowed to
Oh,
pay.
you get
and
the license,
it.
right?
Driver
You
license.
apply for
Driver's
license, yeah.
license.
So you apply. You had to do the exam and everything.
Yeah. So in case somebody's interested for the
Here.
driver license, so it depends if you already have one or not. So I had like a Swiss one, which I then translated into the international one, which you can do like in your home country. Like it should be very easy, very cheap. And then that one afterwards, you can go to China, and then you just have to do like the theory exam in China, but you don't have to do the practical one anymore.
Yeah.
because they kind of recognize the international one in China, so which is good. But you have to do the theory.
The theoretical, right?
Yeah.
So apparently,
Which
I've
is
heard that it is a
cheaper.
little bit difficult to pass.
I mean, you have to study a little bit.
Yeah.
It's more or less the same rules if you're familiar with the rules in Europe. I don't know about other countries, but in Europe, as example, is more or less it's very similar.
And other questions in, sorry to interrupt, in English or Chinese?
Yeah, so it's in English, but then that's where the problem starts, right? Because
Yeah,
then
because the translation is not
the
quite-
translation is very bad, and
Yeah.
I mean, I made like some mistakes really.
Just because of that?
Because of the translation.
But you have to apply for that license. Like it has to be like a local Chinese license. I cannot drive with my own Mexican.
So here's the
license.
thing. Actually, you can
yeah?
as long as you're like here on either tourist or business visa, but you're not allowed to drive when you're on residence permit. So if you come for travel, you're allowed to drive.
Oh, really?
As far as I know, I'm not obviously like, I don't know exactly the law, but I think you're allowed to. But better check it if you want to do that. But I think you can. But then once you live here, then you're actually not allowed to do that anymore.
Just as a tourist, maybe. But would they give you the car or they give you the driver?
Yeah. No.
The whole thing,
you're
really?
allowed to drive. I mean, it's the same in Europe also. The Chinese, as example, if they go to Europe, they're allowed to drive there.
Yeah, for sure.
If they're tourists.
I mean, that's
But
like
then if they
normal.
live there,
But
they're
here,
not really,
okay,
yeah.
so probably, yeah.
So there are different regulations on that, but best to kind of check it out.
Yeah.
So then I actually did it because I have the car, or my girlfriend has a car. And then it was very useful for us, obviously, if we both have the driver's
It's just
license.
traveling around, right?
Yeah. And since then it's perfect because we would sometimes take the RV, like the big like recreational vehicle RV, and then we would travel like as example all the way Xinjiang and in the northwest and like those areas, and then with the RV it's
Was that
fantastic, right?
electrical?
No.
No, because
Very, polluting.
now,
Diesel.
about the topic of the cars,
the cars,
I've seen
yeah,
like
like
too many cars, like they're coming in like now soon.
there's so many. And so many new brands also.
Did you guys see the Xiaomi?
Yeah.
The Xiaomi new car?
Huawei.
I think I posted something in my social media or something about the Xiaomi. So I was reading that how does that called? Like, okay, so you can charge it one time for 30 minutes, and it would take you around 800 kilometers. And
That sounds like a lot.
and the price for charging it that 30 minutes is about 100 yuan, which is how much in dollar? $15. Like $15. So I was like, when they were telling me that in the store, I was like, oh really? So now you just pay like maybe $15 to get it like fully charged, and then you can go this, so many kilometers
Is it fully
around
charged
China.
though after half an hour?
Well, I mean, what I understood,
Yeah, okay.
apparently, yeah.
50% or something.
Yeah, imagine
Yeah.
then.
But how can it drive?
Yeah.
800 kilometers seems far because even
Although-
if Tesla drives only like 500 in total if it's fully charged, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
4, 5. How far does it
I don't
go?
know.
I've
I
seen
don't
some
know.
like over 1,000. I've
No,
seen
but
some,
I
but
think like,
probably
that's a bit
depending on
tricky because it depends
Yeah.
on what condition they test.
Like
it.
the weight,
like
how
what
many
happened
people-
with
So write in the comments
Volkswagen
the
in
correct
Germany.
number, yeah.
Yeah, like what happened with Volkswagen, then I mean depends how those cars measure it and how they apply that.
and how many people is on board,
What
right?
exactly
Like the
means
weight.
a kilometer for them, and yeah.
Yeah, now there's
there are
always
many ways
like
to, like,
a lot of
play with
loopholes
the
into
numbers,
this, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
now there's a lot of people jumping into the idea of having an EV, and then actually there's a lot of subsidies, not only in China, but in many countries, right? Now we have actually in Mexico, I think like if you guys check Liverpool, that's a store for many different things. They're selling this car, not the Xiaomi, but the other one. What's the other one?
Huawei?
Not the Huawei, the other one, BYD.
Oh, no idea.
They're selling a BYD in one of its versions. I think it goes by
Yeah.
by the dynasties.
Oh.
The Tang
yeah, yeah.
dynasty,
Oh.
whatever dynasty.
The BYD
Okay.
cars.
Yeah, the
they're
BYD.
labeled like that.
So
yeah.
they have like one or two models of BYD cars.
Gonna shut down your.
Yeah, there's a little police coming now behind. And so I think you can actually like get them, but it's still expensive.
From where?
From one departmental store in Mexico. So
Okay.
you can actually buy it, pay it, I think, on credit or something, and then they will just give you. But I don't know how's the infrastructure actually to be,
That's the
charging it
question.
around the city. It's a little bit difficult now
Yeah.
to do that. Here, apparently, like there are many more areas which you can actually charge that. And all of us, for example, here we have electric
Bikes.
jumping truck, right? So, do you also have people?
No, I
you don't have
haven't.
it.
But
Because you were
I
living
haven't-
here in the city, you didn't
I had a bike, just like a bicycle, so I used that.
electric one.
No, just a regular bicycle. So yeah, I haven't had, but it's a popular thing.
How much
That's
is the
good
price
to
of
hear.
a jumping truck? Of an electrical bike?
$200, $300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for
You can get a
$200-300,
decent
you
one.
can buy like a new electrical bike, like the ones that are just coming in the back.
Yeah, maybe
And quite good. You can charge it for probably what 1 or 2 hours. Yeah, for
1 RMB.
for 1 RMB, for a few cents of a dollar, and then you get like 30 kilometers if it's new.
no
Yeah.
problem.
30-40 kilometers. It's quite cheap actually. That's how I go every day to my work.
To work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because where I'm living is like 3 kilometers from where I work. Charge it 1-2 yuan every 2 days,
Yeah,
something,
like this.
and then it's like it's almost free, right?
Yeah, it is.
If you do the maths into how much it costs you per day,
It's convenient. Yeah,
It's
it's cheap.
I mean, because even the bus costs like 2 RMB, right? So
Yeah.
that diem being sure is like the same price, like, I mean, the same price to go to work and back maybe 2 or 3 times is the same price like one bus ticket.
Yeah. So there's a lot
That's
of,
very good.
logistically speaking, a lot of options to go around Shanghai and China and everything. Hey, so back to the to the idea with Kazakhstan. Is there any big community in China, like Kazakh community somehow, or not really?
I have not experienced that. There was some. I just remember that at some point there were 2 Russian restaurants though, where quite a few. I guess
Russian restaurants.
people from Kazakhstan, they do like also to eat Russian cuisine from time to time. They miss some of the sort of local food from back home because we have Russian food in abundance. And but yeah, no, in terms of communities, I'm not so sure. Or maybe I was not part of that because I was always in an international mix because of my college and because of the people I was surrounded with. So it was always people from all over, but not exactly from my country.
Yeah, because I remember, for example, when we were working together, there was another, my internal, how does it called, my TA, teaching assistant, no, the assistant. So she was from Kazakhstan as well.
Ah, yeah?
But she was from Astana,
Okay.
the capital, right? Yeah, I remember because there's some very famous chocolate. I remember she brought it, like it was like the flag of Kazakh, like the blue one. And he was just so proud of that chocolate. And I was like, okay, so that's like...
She didn't bring that to me because I'm Swiss.
Yeah, exactly. The Kazakh chocolate versus the Swiss one.
So we have
Okay, so then the community, it feels like maybe it's not so big in Shanghai.
maybe.
Maybe have, you just need to get into that, right?
Like the Kazakh.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay. That's, how about the Swiss community?
Yeah, thousands. It's quite big, I think. I just know somebody told me a few like months ago, I remember, and I was surprised it was quite big. I remember it was like thousands. I don't remember exactly, but it was a lot of people. And then I know I have some like WeChat groups and stuff, and then there are people also like 500, 600, 700 people only in one WeChat group, right?
Yeah.
For like Swiss in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
Did you get to know some?
Yeah, I know some of them. Not all, obviously, but some. Yeah, because we also used to work with some of them.
You guys do fun to go. Hey!
Hola!
¿Qué onda? ¿Cómo estás?
Dima.
So here's the Russian that speaks Spanish.
We're doing the video.
Say hi, Dima.
Oh my god.
Come
That's
here.
a good friend of ours.
Say hi.
Hey, you want to sit here?
Come here, yeah. All right, guys. So just the last,
just
just the last
to
thing.
wrap it up.
Let me wrap it
Just to wrap it up,
Hey,
any final thoughts that you would like to say to the people that is
I
interested in
think
coming
we'll be
to
keeping you guys
China?
updated with any new things that are going to happen because we hang out from time to time, and if there is anything interesting that we want to share, we will. In the meantime, I hope it was interesting or useful in any way.
Well, thanks for your time. Let's order
thank
some
you guys.
food.
Thank you, La Vida in China.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, subscribe to his channel
All
and
right.
everything.
See you guys next time. Have a good
See you.
one.
Adios, amigos.
Bye bye.